Friends, we are going to now begin the services for Martin John Szanto, MD. Again, if you have a cellular device, I would ask you to please turn it to the off position. Officiating our service today will be Rabbi Yochanan Posner and Cantor Stuart Figa. We're going to begin with military honors.
We're going to begin by asking Cantor Stuart Vega to read Psalm 23.
Adonai roi lo echsar bino sheyarbitzeni al mei menuchot yenaleni nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'maglet tzedek yancheni b'maglet tzedek leman shemo gam ki elech begetz al mavet lo ira ki ata imadi shivtecha u'mishantecha Eima yenachamundi Taharuk lifanai Shulchan neged sorerai Dishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya Ach tov v'chesed yirdechuni Kol yemei chaya, kol yemei chaya. V'shavti beveit Adonai liorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar Adonai roi lo echsar I wanted to say that I knew Dr. Szanto because he cared for my parents for decades, and I got to see up close what a fine, caring, and warm, sweet man he was. And when Luba called me, I was ready to be here at this time to say goodbye to a fine man.
At this point, we're going to call upon Harav Avimori, Rabbi Yosef Posner, to read chapter 15 of Psalms.
Design. I didn't hear what you said. Design. Michtam le David, Shamreini El Kichasisi Vach, Amart Ladonai Adonai Otam, Tevasi Balolecha, Ligdoishim Asher Ba'aretz, Hema, Vadiri Kol Chefzivam, Yirbu Atzvaisam, Acher Maharu, Val Osich Niskem Yidam, Val Esa, Shmoisam Ausvasai, Adonai Manos Chelki Vachaisi, Ata Taimich Garali, Chavalim, Naflu Li Bani Imim, Af Nachalas, Shafra Aloi, Avarach Asatnaya Sher Yatsani, Af Lelis, Yisruni Chilyaisai, Shivisi Adonai Lenegdi Samid, Ki Mimine Bal Emoid, Lachin Samach Libi Viogel, Kwedi Af Pesari Yishkan Levetach, Kiloi Sazev, Nafshulish El, Lesitin Chasidcha, Liris Shachas, Tedieni, Eirach Chayim, Sevas Machas Espenacha, Niimes, Bimincha Netzach.
We're gathered here today to celebrate the life of Dr. Marti Szanto. Marti was born in Chicago. We aren't sure what year it was because he's still 29, but you know for sure he was born in Chicago. To his parents, Dr. Paul Szanto and Dr. Amalia Szanto. Marti's father came from Budapest, Hungary. He traveled to Vienna to avoid anti-Semitism and to be able to attend medical school. And that's where Marti's father met Marti's mother, Amalia, who also was there at that time. They fled Austria together with their son, Philip, 6 weeks after the Nazis annexed Austria. Marti's father was a well-known pathologist, served in the war, was a pioneering researcher for the Hecton Institute, and he served as director in the Cook County Hospital for 26 years. And there's no doubt that Marti's father was a big influence in his life. I can't say the number of times he told me, my father this, my father that, always talking about his father, very distinguished person, and a very important influence for Marti. Marti's mother's family, Amalia's family, they were Orthodox, they were a large family, and all of her siblings, I think it was 5 or 6 sisters and her brother, they came together to America following Marti's parents. Marti's uncle was also a scientist and also a very important influence in Marti's development. So Marti has 2 parents who are doctors, and what do you know? Both Marti and his brother both became doctors as well. They moved to Kankakee, where Marti's father worked as a pathologist, and Marti had good memories of playing in the Victory Gardens back in Kankakee. Then they moved to Venice Beach, California, where he would play volleyball and play in the sand. But wherever they lived, at any time, it was always a kosher home where they kept the Jewish holidays, observed the rituals. Marti had a bar mitzvah, went to Hebrew school, and took part in all the holidays with his large and extended family. They came back to Chicago, where Marti was a student in Senn High School in Edgewater on the north side. Now, I know it's weird, but it's true. For some reason, he wanted to be an engineer. We still aren't sure why, but that's how the story goes. And Marti's father took him to the hospital on the rounds and explained to him why it's much better to be a doctor. I won't say the words he exactly said. So Marti went off to University of Illinois, undergrad school, medical degree at Loyola, medical internship at Cook County Hospital in Chicago. Marti was very proud of his military service. He attained the rank of captain in the Air Force, serving proudly and devotedly as a medical officer. He was there for 3 or 4 years. Then he came back to Chicago and went into his medical practice. He was on the staff in numerous hospitals, Weiss Hospital, Swedish Covenant Hospital, St. Joseph's Hospital, also at Alden North Shore, and other places as well. Marti volunteered as medical doctor for Ravinia, where he was able to combine his love of music and his love of nature with his foremost love of medicine. And in 2000, when Marti must have been 5 years old, he was accepted as a reserve specialist for the critically needed in the Air Force. Marti is an amazing person. I can't tell you what happened. So we put out an email announcement yesterday about the funeral. People are replying to me saying, I was his patient, I knew him here. Like, it never happens. We put out show announcements saying someone passed away. Nobody replies to them. Only when Marti passes away are the replies saying, I was his patient, he was so nice, he was so kind, he was so generous. This is something unusual. It does not happen in real life. Marti really, really cared for his patients. It didn't matter if they were paying, they had insurance, didn't have insurance. He would happily take care of people pro bono. His interest was saving lives. It wasn't in driving a Mercedes. And so he visited his patients in their homes, if they couldn't come to his office. Marti was the old-fashioned doctor who was there to heal wherever and whenever. He was on call 24/7. How rare is that today? Doesn't exist today, right? And so many times, and I'll be talking with Marti, the topic was Marti lamenting the decline of medicine. It's becoming a system where all a doctor does is type in a computer. I'm not a typer. I'm not a typist, he would say. I'm a doctor. I want to talk to the patient. I don't look at a screen, right? And Marti never forgot that. The role of the doctor is to care for the patient as a human being, not as one more statistic in a medical system. Marti was what they call a doctor's doctor. He would help young doctors starting out. He would teach them by example how to truly care about the well-being of their patients. It was in this setting that Marti met Luba. Luba was a young first-year college unit secretary in the hospital, Weiss Memorial Hospital. Marti was there as a doctor, and they chatted a little bit, and Marti's father helped Luba with various things, getting a job. They shared a lot in common. Both come from the same part of the world. Today, different countries, but for a while, it was the same country: Austro-Hungarian, Slovakian. It's all one neighborhood. Luba from Munkac, Marti's father from Budapest, mother from Vienna. It took time, but they dated eventually, and they were together for 42 special years. When Marti's mother, Amalia, passed away in 1979, about 4 years later, Marti's father remarried, and another amazing thing happened. That is that Marti's stepmother's family truly became Marti's family. Very unusual thing, right? So Diana became a full sister in every way for Marti. And they have amazing family connection that goes to this very minute. Marti loved his son Leonard. He was a good father to his only son, and he was very protective of him. Now, let's talk about Marti's personality, because I think this truly can be a lesson and a model for all of us. Number one, Marti was Jewish. He was a Jewy Jew. He was somebody who took his Judaism seriously. I can't say he was in shul every single day, but he was in shul on a regular basis for all the important Jewish holidays. He was definitely a part of the Jewish community, and he took it very seriously. Marti was humble. Marti was simple. He didn't need a lot of attention. If you talked to him, you wouldn't know how important he is medically. He was very respectful of people, any background, any type, very kind. I can tell you that when he walked into shul, always a hug, because like the love would exude from him. Marti comes in, you want to hug him, and that's it. That's what you want to do. Marti appreciated facts. He created a whole binder of his life facts, which he gave to Luba very beautifully. Marti loved history. He loved books. He watched the History Channel. When we would talk, somehow we always included in talking about at least one battle in World War II. Came up in every conversation. Marti listened to jazz. He liked 50s era's music, because Marti knew that the current music, it's garbage. It's not real music, right? Medicine, he loved medicine. He loved helping people through his medicine. One of my best Marti Szanto memories, he was sitting at my Shabbos table. Now, picture the scene, right? I'm a young rabbi with a young wife and little babies in the house, right? Marti's talking about how in the military, so he would have to deliver babies. He's like, but I couldn't catch them. They were too slippery. So, it's so good. So good. But the truth is, he took his medicine very, very seriously. And even when he wasn't well and he could barely walk, he kind of leaned forward when he walked, and he could barely stand, he insisted on continuing to see his patients. Marty's life was about helping people in need. Even through his illness, he would not stop. Marti was humble. He wouldn't talk about his own problems. So another memory I have with Marti was he came into shul. He wasn't walking. He was kind of like leaning forward when he walked. I can tell he wasn't well. I said, Marti, go take care of your health. Go see a doctor, Marti. And he would say, no, I'm fine. I didn't know at the time how sick he really was. I just knew he didn't quite look right? And I'm telling him, like I even addressed it, you don't look well. And he made it, no big deal, I'm just whatever, gotta lose a couple of pounds and that's it. Nothing going on here, nothing to see here. He never made it about himself. He never complained or shared his problems. He just happily lived his life, did his thing, took care of his patients, took care of his loved ones, took care of his obligations, went here and went there, and he didn't really let anybody know what was really going on. And I think it's a very special thing. I think that we all can learn from Marti how to be humble, how to be loyal, how to be caring, how to be devoted, how to be kind, and how to accept whatever comes with equanimity and not to complain. It's a very, very amazing thing. Marti will be deeply missed by his loving partner of 42 years, Luba, by his son, Leonard Szanto, by his niece and nephew, Judy and Sandy Cotton, and his 3 great nieces, his nephew, Michael Szanto, his sister and her husband, Diana, Mazel, John Pitarelli, and Desiree, James Hortak, and Wolf Adler. And Marti was preceded in death by his brother, the late Dr. Phil and Ann Szanto. At this point, we're going to hear a few words from Diana, followed by Marti's niece, Olga Muchnik, and then followed by Marti's patient, friend, and attorney, Jack Feldman.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana, and I am Marti's sister from Florida. On behalf of my sister Luba and the entire Szanto family, it is a blessing that I see all of your faces and that you've been here today and have been greatly supporting Luba and Marti through his illness, and it is much appreciated, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It is my honor to be here, and a lot of you don't know who I am or how I got to be part of the wonderful Szanto family, so I thought I'd tell you my story. My father was Dr. Maurice Maisel, passed away many, many years ago when I was already a grown woman and living in Florida. About a year following my father's death, I received a call from my mother telling me she was in love and she had met a wonderful and dear man, and they were thinking about getting married. Well, even though they were both over 60 and had lost their spouses, I was still a little taken back and shocked. I think some of you might understand that. However, my mother said she was never happier right now than she had been, and would I please come in and be part of the family and the ceremony. So I flew to Chicago with my sister, and without a doubt, immediately, I fell in love with her future husband, who took me in the minute he saw me and said, "My beautiful daughters, I'm so grateful that you are here, and I love you so much." And I could see the love and caring that he had provided to my mother and that he wanted all of us to be a family. So from that day forward, the Szanto and Maisel families were one. And I don't know if it was because Marti and Phil never had sisters and welcomed my sister Desiree and myself immediately. And we were grateful to have 2 older brothers that were doctors. And so we were very happy, and we were just a great, happy family. I never thought I could meet anybody more kind to me and nicer than my father Paul Szanto, who my mother married, but I was wrong. Marty, my brother, there's no words if I tell you he was kind, if I tell you he was gentle, if I tell you he was considerate, if I tell you he was the most warm and caring human being. Those words are not even a fraction of really who he was, and by your presence here today, I know you understand that. However, I will tell you he never missed caring and calling. We lived in Florida. He was in here in Chicago. When my husband was going through a difficult illness, called constantly, giving advice, saying anything that we needed, he was going to be there for us. The same thing with me. Anytime I wasn't well, I was sick in Chicago the last time I came to see him, and I couldn't really see him, and he called me daily at the hotel and said, what can I do for you? Can I send you food? Can I get you this? Can I get you that? This is the kind of man he was constantly. Also, he would always beat me to the phone call, wishing me a happy new year, or whatever the holiday was. He always beat me. I kept saying, I got to call first this time, but no, Marty's call always came in before I could reach out to him. So it is my honor to be here, and I know with all my heart that I am the luckiest woman to have a brother like Marty.
Hello, my name is Olga. I am Luba's niece, and I first met Marty 35 years ago. I was only 9 years old at the time. And I remember that very clearly because I was getting off the plane from a journey from Soviet Union coming to America. I was with my mom and my dad, my mom Clara, who is Luba's cousin, and there were two people we saw. It was Luba and Marty. And they've transitioned us into our life in America. I have many happy memories of Marty. I remember him as a very kind, compassionate, very positive person, always smiling. I think this resonates with everything I've heard from other people here. And I think what made him also unique is his ability to connect to people of many different backgrounds. I was a little girl, 9 years old, coming off that plane, not a word of English, neither my mom, neither my dad, here Luba and Mari. How would we connect? Yet on the same day, he was able to find a connection. I think that's what makes him unique, that ability to connect to people. And how did he find a connection? Not being able to speak English, he found somehow, through some way, as they took us out to dinner, we found a connection through the word chocolate. It's the same in Russian as it is in English. And I remember, after that warm memory that he would always order chocolate dessert for me. I remember that very clearly. That was the way we connected. He found that human connection with me. Without knowing any other words, he was still able to find that connection to a little girl. And ever since then, he was always there for me, my family. I would say every single person in Luba's family has some kind of positive experience with Mari, has had some kind of help from Mari. There isn't a single person in Luba's family who he hasn't touched. And to some extent, even probably saved our lives through some of the medical guidance he has provided. Whatever it was, referrals, treatment, just moral support. Having him at our family tables through times of joy, but then he was always there through the times of illness or through moments when it's not so joyous. I think it's easy for people to be there at the time of joy, right? We all have people around us who are there for us at our joyous occasions. But how many of you know people who are always, and when I say always, that's not just, a figure of speech, always was there for us no matter what. So I will remember Mari. I am so thankful, Mari, for all those chocolate desserts that you bought for your little niece. And on behalf of all of Luba's family, I just want to say, we're just grateful. That's the word that I want to use. We're grateful that for all the help you've provided, but also just being able to know you, be inspired by you, and I hope that in your name, we will be able to carry kindness in this world, to carry this forward. In your name, Mari.
Good morning. So you've heard from a few family members, and I'm not a family member, so I get to be unbiased. I knew Marty for more than 50 years, which doesn't seem possible. I'm not typically prone to hyperbole, but my relationship with Marty Szanto was one of the seminal relationships of my life. Marty was my grandmother's doctor, the doctor to both of my parents, my brother and myself, and my daughter. My office and my home are in Algonquin, which is a 40-mile drive to Chicago, and I would make that drive to see Marty often, either personally or professionally. I hate driving. It's become a bane of my existence as you get older, but those 80 miles were always worth the drive to see Marty. Marty was at all of my life events, my grandmother's funeral, both of my parents' funerals. Marty and Luba were at my wedding. Marty and Luba were at my daughter's bat mitzvah. Marty wasn't just a doctor or just my doctor. He was a cherished friend. Whenever I would see Marty, he would never fail to ask about my daughter, Rebecca, and we would always spend a few minutes talking about Rebecca and Lenny. And even though my marriage ended 10 years ago, my ex and I are still close, and when I told her and my daughter this weekend about Marty's passing, I could sense the palpable sadness in their voices because they knew of the relationship that I had with Marty, and they both remembered Marty very fondly, and they expressed their condolences to Luba and Lenny as well. Marty was a client of my law firm, and I had a special affinity in being able to help him, especially these last few years when he had some professional challenges, and we were able to deal with some of those. It was a privilege to be able to take some of the burden off of Marty, as Marty has done for all of us throughout his practice. As it was when I was dealing with his issues, as he was dealing with when he would deal with my medical issues, he wasn't just a doctor and I wasn't just a patient, or he wasn't just a client. We were friends. As professionals, we respected each other's personal time, but I remember reaching out to him when I had some time-sensitive medical issues, and I remember him calling me once from a hotel when he and Luba were vacationing somewhere. He would reach out to me on evenings and weekends to check in. I would feel comfortable calling him at all hours of the day and night, as he would I. We would touch base often just to exchange a text or a happy holiday wish, and I always look forward to hearing from Marty on those occasions. It's been said a couple times already this morning, they don't make doctors like Marty anymore. Selfishly, I'm at a loss to know what I'm going to be doing because not only have I lost a doctor, but with the exception of two of my close childhood friends, he's the person I've known the longest in my life at this point in time. I feel like part of me is gone as well. Even when you know death is imminent, it doesn't make it any easier. And when you lose someone, especially someone like Marty, whose legacy is kindness and graciousness and professionalism, you know that you're going to miss that person more than you realize. And I know that that loss will resonate with me today, but more so in the days to come. There's a quote from one of my most favorite television shows, Star Trek: The Next Generation. One of the lead characters is killed, but she left a hologram of herself with what she wanted to say to those left behind, and her comments conclude as follows. Death is not the state in which one exists, death is the state in which one exists only in the memory of others, which is why it is not an end, no goodbyes, only good memories. I hope that Marty's memory is a blessing to all of us and to everybody who knew him and loved him. And now Marilyn Klein, Dr. Szanto's assistant for so many years, would like to say a few words as well.
They forgot me, but I didn't forget. I've been working. I started working with Dr. Szanto January 1st, 1979. That was 45 years ago when he left Dr. Gunther and Siegel's office and started to make his own practice. A lot of things said today I'm going to repeat, but Anyways, if you didn't have any health insurance, if you were on public aid, HMO, Medicare, private insurance, Marty did not care. Everyone was always treated the same, with the same dignity and respect. If you couldn't pay for your visit, no worries. Everyone always got his complete attention to excellent health care. Marty's concern was never about the monetary or the prestige of being a physician. He drove his trusty Subaru, never wore a lab coat, and was a simple man with basic needs. So it was up to me to make it my job to get the bills paid. Marty was never in a hurry. He always had time to listen to your concerns. He loved to know about your family and friends. Everyone had a story to tell, and he wanted to know yours. It took me a few years to finally stop nagging him that he was running behind schedule every single day. Our patients didn't mind waiting for him because they knew he would give them the same attention. So instead of making myself crazy, I extended the office visits for 15 more minutes. Problem was solved. And how many doctors do you know that spent 30 to 45 to 60 minutes with a patient every single time they came in the office? He was amazing. Marty was not an alarmist. He was always calming and reassuring. He had this enormously positive attitude that drove me crazy sometimes. In all the 45 years I worked for him, I never, ever heard him raise his voice, yet he heard mine a few times. He was the most accessible doctor. Everyone had his cell number, and you can call him anytime during the day or night. He was there for you. He never turned a patient away, and if you needed for him to wait an extra hour till you got off of work, no problem. And yes, he made house calls, and he enjoyed doing them at least 2 to 3 times a week. Marty knew the secret. You take care of your employees, and your employees will take care of you. He always gave me the same benefits as he gave himself. If he had health insurance, I had health insurance. If the office got a new computer, I got a new computer. He was always very generous and believed in sharing the wealth. I always had his back, and he had mine. We were a good team. It never felt like a job. It was always a pleasure to come to the office. It felt like home. Marty never said no. He always covered for any colleague that was going out of town, even if it meant working late and long weekends. Everyone knew they can always count on Marty. Lots of times he would forget to tell me that we were covering someone because he didn't want to hear a lecture from me that he could sometimes learn to say no, at least to 2 of the 4 doctors he was covering. Most offices were quiet over the Christmas holidays. No, not us. We were so busy covering 6 other practices. I loved working with Dr. Szanto. He was one of the good ones who left us way too soon. He taught me so much about medicine while he set the best example of what is truly a decent, caring human being. I will miss him deeply. Thank you.
I think we'll all miss Marty deeply. Tehei Nashe Tzura B'Tzora Chaim. May his soul be bound in the bond of eternal life. We're going to ask Cantor Fega to recite the Kamalai.
Please rise. El malei rachamim, shochen bamromim, hamatzei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei השכינה. במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים. את נשמת השכל בן ברוך, שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן. נחלתו. ענה בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו, וסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, ינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Martin John Szanto, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
Friends, this concludes our service here in the chapel. The interment will take place immediately following at the family plots in Shalom Memorial Park in Arlington Heights, Illinois. Following the interment, the family will be sitting Shiva Monday through Wednesday from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. at the family residence 7432 North Lincoln Avenue, Unit C in Skokie. That information is available on your folder. Memorial contributions may be made to the American Cancer Society or the Jewish National Fund, and also that information is available both electronically or you can mail. There's a mailing address. For those of you who are going in procession with the family today to the cemetery, please make sure you obtain an orange funeral safety sticker. The sticker should be placed in the front passenger side of your windshield. We would also ask that you have your bright headlights and hazard lights on at all times. For an additional measure of safety, our staff will be placing magnetic flags on the tops of vehicles that are throughout the procession. As we drive in procession today, please drive as closely as safety permits to the vehicle in front of you. We want to avoid any large spaces or gaps in the procession, particularly as we go through intersections. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone to rise as the doctor is escorted from the chapel. Our service here is concluded. I would ask you, if you're going to the cemetery, to seek to go directly to your cars, please. Thank you.